Hello, everybody. Today I would like to show you a new acquisition, a new received vintage watch for my collection. It's an Omega Automatic Genève from around, I think, 1970 due to the serial number in the movement. This watch I bought in eBay and which is basically not without risk, as you may know, because Omegas, nowadays vintage Omegas, are often not original. They combine the movements with the wrong dials and the wrong dials with the wrong cases, and so on and so on. So often you will not get a good product, and the prices are the people want for their watches, their old watches in bad condition, sometimes are exorbitant. I would never, if I see what you sometimes get offered for around $800 or $900, then I really wonder what the people think their watches should bring. And this one was not so expensive. I paid not too much for that, and I bought that because in my opinion this item here is a very good basis for having it serviced, and after the service I will have a wonderful, beautiful classical watch with a very rare finishing of the dial. This variant is quite rare. It's not so often to find. The automatic movement is the movement 565 in the non-chronometer version. The chronometer version of the 565 is used in the Seamasters, or even I think also in the constellations of that time. This one is the non-chronometer version, and it is said that the Genève line was always the lower end of the lines of Omega in that time, in the 60s and the 70s. That may be true. The Genève is basically in the collector's market cheaper than the Seamasters, and of course than the Constellations, but I don't see any issue with the quality or with the finishing of that watch. So the case is the case is nice, and it's screwed case, not just pressed case, and so the movement is a nice one. Okay, it's not adjusted as good as the chronometer versions, but the watch is basically, it's very nice, and I think the Genève models nowadays are a good deal for if you want to start with collecting vintage Omegas, because in my opinion the Constellations are really overpriced in the moment, and if you don't want to pay $1,000, $1,200, $1,300 until $2,000 if it's a gold version, then I would recommend you look for a good Genève from that time. Important is that it's authentic, and I checked that this watch is totally authentic. It is the right movement in the right case. If you compare the serial number the model number of that watch, which is always mostly in the inner side of the case, and I have photos from the inner side, then you can, in the Google picture search, you can find whether the watch you want to buy is really authentic, more or less it looks like that and has this variance or not. And that one is not a very, as I said, not a very often to find variant of this dial. It's rather seldom to find, but it is authentic. It was sold under that model number, and so I have a very authentic watch in a basically nice condition. Someone may say, okay, why is the condition nice? There are many scratches on the case, and but the condition is nice because it seems not to be polished. Has very sharp edges, which is exactly what I like, and so for a collector, from the collector's view, the watch is, from the case situation, very nice, and the base is you see that the waterproof is still very good relief, so also not polished in my opinion, and it has this characteristic little scratches here in the middle. Why is like that? So my assumption is the watch came with a steel bracelet, and this I think this watch was mostly worn with a steel bracelet, and a very flubby one. And then when the watch was put on the table, then the steel bracelet always clashed to the base, and then it made these characteristic scratches. Very interesting to analyze the vintage watches, the base scratches on about the costume of the pre-owners, how they wore their watches and what they did with their watches, because the base of the cases can speak, can tell you stories, obviously. Yeah. So in the inside, when you open the base, has some corrosion on the part where the screw is set on. So it must be cleaned, obviously. So and it also has no cask, so it is not at all waterproof. Also not against sweating or not against washing hands. And so I will definitely let it repaired and get it to the service. So I will make a full service to the watch. Also because I hate the crown. Obviously the crown is not fitting. It's not an original Omega crown, and this is a crown made from brass. Yeah, so this is not at all fitting to that wonderful steel watch. The nice thing is this is a steel watch. Yeah, so I don't like so much the gold-plated one. And if you see this wonderful dial with that aluminium-like brushed style, very modern style in my opinion. It looks fancy, and this is original like that. This variant was really sold like that, with that aluminium brush style, and also the index and hands have this beautiful onyx inlays. This is stone inlays, as I think. This stone is called onyx, this black stone, and this gives it a very exclusive look, for a really sporty look on one side, on the other side very elegant. Also what I like is the special way how they put the Omega sign on that watch in this variant. Only this variant with that brushed look, as I see it in the Google picture search, only that one has this variant of the Omega sign in this square, similar to the later coming models, the electronic models, the F300 models, who have this Omega sign also in a square and have this red Omega sign. Then in that models, then it's red. So I like that. This is very special, and only in that quite rare model to be found. It's a Genève. Again, I don't see the issue with that. I would always have no problem with buying a Genève, and it has a good movement, and it is not at all looking cheaper than a Seamaster of that time. I'm not an expert of vintage Omegas. Vintage Omegas are really a science for itself. If you want to buy a vintage Omega, be careful. There are many movies in the YouTube which give you detailed information what you must spot to find out whether you have a good deal or not a good deal. But basically, the first thing you must do is always look the model number, the model number of the watch, and then look the serial number which you find on the movement, and then compare in the list when that should have been produced. If the model number is a watch from 1959 and the serial number on the movement shows the watch is produced 68, then something is wrong. And because there are so many variants in the market which are not originally coming from Omega in that time, they combine wrong dials with wrong movements, and wrong movements with wrong cases. So I have a little bit experience with buying vintage watches since many years, but I'm not an expert at all in that. And even for me, it's very difficult, and I all the time have to ask in forums, can that be or not? I give you an example. I saw a monocoque case with a Genève dial, Now the monocoque case was used by the Omega Seamaster DeVille in the middle to the end of the 60s. And but I never ever saw one with a Genève without Seamaster. There is Seamaster Genève combination. There is Seamaster DeVille combination. There is, as I know, Seamaster alone in monocoque sometimes, but I never found any Genève in monocoque. Now, even the big experts in the forums are not sure whether that can be that Omega maybe delivered that watch with a Genève dial on a monocoque case of a Seamaster DeVille. It's simply not clear, and it simply maybe cannot be found out anymore. Because there are no documentations on that, and Omega really combined a lot. Maybe they had spare parts and then they produced some pieces of that and some pieces of this. Very difficult to find out whether that is a mariage or a Frankenstein watch, or whether that is really original one, which is important for the collector. So I let my fingers off if I don't find the model, and if the serial number and the model number is not fitting really to the aspects I should await from what I did use from the Google picture search. So this watch I will get serviced. After it's serviced, I have it, by the way, I have it on a beautiful, basically it's already old, I will change it maybe later, but on a beautiful shell cordovan leather strap with an original clasp from Omega. And before I end my movie, I want to show you how this watch is looking on my arm. The good thing, this watch is, even if it's a small watch, as usually from that time, I think 34 millimeter, like usually, even the watch is not looking feminine. It's looking beautiful and is looking totally okay on the arm, at least on my arm. If you are a 2-meter man with thick arms and thick ankles, then maybe it looks strange. But for me, it's a really good watch, and I would not say this is just a dress watch for decent look. I would say that watch can be easily also worn for every day with a more sporty dress. Perfect watch, in my opinion. After the service, I will make another movie to show you how it came out and how it looks. And let me finish by just say why, as a resume, why I bought it. It's a good basis for having a service, and after the service, I will have a wonderful, really, really nice and seldom classic Omega vintage. So if you liked my video, then just subscribe me or let a like here, and I would be happy. So see you next time. Bye bye.